Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. Hello.
Welcome to the
This is
Lynn and Scott show, except it's a different Scott tonight.
Scott
It's,
Schilling. Thank you so much for being my co-host.
No, Lynn, thank you for the opportunity. Jonesy, thank you. Always a pleasure to be here with this group of highly educated, just tremendously insightful, very learned panel, if I could only speak. But I am a professional speaker. So anyway, really appreciate the opportunity. We have a great panel as always. And tonight's topic is, what do you do to maintain an optimistic outlook, even when computers don't work well and platforms are problematic? Oh, that might have been a little caveat afterwards. So, Lynn, who are you going to put in the middle box right out of the beginning, and who are we going to hear from?
Well, just because he's in a hotel in an undisclosed area and we don't know how long we'll have him.
Witness protection again?
Yeah, I know.
I know. They keep getting it wrong. This time they gave me the name Judy Finkel. I don't know how long that's going to last.
Not as long. You might want to shave, but other than that,
that's true. That's true. Scott, as always, thank you for stepping up, and everybody, thank you for being here. I love this topic, maintaining an optimistic outlook. Listen, every day can't be sunshine and puppy dogs. Every day is not going to be wonderfulness. You're not always going to have rainbows coming out of your butt every time you turn around. But you know what? At the end of the day, any day lived was a day well lived. I've spent a lot of my life in situations where every day was the same monotony, and there was no hope for change. There was no help to do anything different. There was no lessons learned. Everything was just one compilation of pain after pain after pain. And now my outlook is so different because I have the opportunity to make changes and do things differently. My failures now are not things to be looked at in a bad way. They're things to be looked at and celebrated as, hey, I gave it another shot. I went out there. I had another time at bat. And hopefully I'll get another time at bat in the next inning and the next inning and the next inning. I think the way to stay optimistic is just to know, if I'm still pumping air, I still got work to do. And anything worth doing is worth doing badly. That is what I'm going to stand by. Anything in my life that is worth doing, it's worth doing wrong. It's worth doing badly. And keep doing it until I get it right. But again, I'm not happy all the time. But when my head hits the pillow each night, I'm grateful I had another day to try. I'm grateful that I had another day to keep moving. And that motivates me for the next day to do something again. Maybe I'm a little too slanted because I've seen the darker side of life that some people haven't seen. But we've all suffered our own darkness in our own ways, I guess. Right now, I prefer to live in the light. I prefer to live in the possibilities. I like to spend a whole lot of time these days saying I can instead of I can't. And I just love the idea that I might do it wrong 300 times, but sooner or later, that thing is going to land heads and everything's going to be fine. So I just got to go with it and go with the flow. And look what I get. I get great people like all of you guys. And if this isn't enough for me to go live another Tuesday, because every Tuesday I get to spend time with you guys, I'm not looking at life the right way. Thank you guys. I love you all.
Awesome. Well said, Scott. I think there's things to be gleaned from that are so solid that it's repetition. It's learning. It's one step forward, two steps back, but you can still go forward. So well said. Brent, and who are you bringing up next?
Oh, well, I was just moving you up on top, but Mr. Dinella, are we ready? Are you ready?
Whatever.
Thank you.
The thing that I think of first when I think about keeping an optimistic outlook is it's the company you keep, right? Are you surrounding yourself with the people that have the ability to keep an optimistic outlook for themselves. And then the second thing that I'm a big proponent of is having a playlist, setting yourself up to win, having that playlist so that you can automatically go to it, whether it's a video clips or audio or music or something that you can have on cue. We know that every day is not going to be great. We know that there's going to be some challenging times. So what if we have this playlist? So I have a playlist for all kinds of different things, but I have a playlist one for motivation or for keeping encouraged. And that right there is a playlist of maybe 10, 15, 20 different songs that put me in that state. But they might be videos. They might be videos of Martin Luther King having his I Have a Dream speech. Might be Ronald Reagan, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Might be a whole bunch of different ones, but I have them in queue. I don't have to go look for them. They're in my playlist, on my phone, on my computer. So those are the two biggest things that I do is who I surround myself with, or two, having a playlist that I can go to for instant to create a different state of mind.
Awesome. I totally agree with the, on my old website, why I didn't carry it to my new one, I don't know. But I had a list of 52 inspirational songs that I could go to at any time. And it's amazing how that works to just have good information pumping.
Yep.
To get your heart pumping and to stay going in the right direction. Well done, Bob. Thanks.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for being here, but not being here, I guess. We miss you.
So, Lynn, who do we have next in the
Barry
secret square?
Selby.
So, a couple of thoughts, and I love what's been said so far because these are great keys to use. One of the things I know, especially when we're working with clients, is how we keep referencing ourselves based on something outside us, whether it's relationship or money or whatever it is. And so those circumstances govern how we feel, which is backwards. So, and I'm saying it that way because I'm not going to go through all the teaching bit, but bottom line is simply is that we can control how we feel if we don't rely on necessarily on other people. We start relying on ourselves first. So when we feel happy, positive, which you can do for any reason, you don't need to be in the right job or the right relationship to be happy. You can be happy walking down the street. But if you can do that, that's the first step to building optimism as a natural way of being. And yeah, as you said, as Scott said about those roller coaster rides, I've had a few darkness of the soul. I've had times where I thought I was going to leave the planet, but I didn't. And not that that was a reference point, but I just realized that we all have choice. And I chose to stay and stick around. And the funny thing is, the more I stick around, the happier I get. Maybe it's a side effect, I'm not sure. But the thing for me is always about, and say what Bob was saying, like bringing your optimism to other people becomes infectious. Mm-hmm. And if we hold a space that is based on who we are, it doesn't get knocked around by somebody else. If somebody's in a bad mood, we don't have to take it on. I used to, big time. But the lesson is now is you don't have to take on other people's negativity. That's another way out to get to positive too. So simple things we can do. Yeah, it takes practice, and we do fall off the horse once in a while, but you get back up on again. So keep getting better and better at doing it. And it is a what's what I'm looking for. It's progress. It's not consistent. So you keep doing better each time. Great. If you don't, it's okay. Get back up, do it again. You know.
I love that.
Love it.
Thank you, Barry.
Very much so. Very much so. Steve looks like he's very contemplative there.
Steve is next. Dun 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 dun.
So when I would be optimistic, I just read one of my books. Next.
Be careful what you wish for on this show.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Just click on the trigger.
You know, it pisses me off when somebody's funnier than me, so knock it off, Lynn. There's a difference between optimism and being happy. I think a part of being optimistic is knowing that you're going to have sad days. You're going to have bad days. Being optimistic is knowing that it's okay to suffer. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel pain. It's just that optimistic people allow that part of themselves to feel that I don't even call pain a negative emotion. I don't care. So I don't call suffering a negative emotion. It's a necessary emotion sometimes. If someone close to you passes away, you have to feel that suffering. But optimistic people know when to bounce back. Optimistic people know when to stop and stop focusing, shift their way of thinking. They're focusing on what's working rather than fixating on what isn't working, to bless the things that life has given them rather than cursing what life is currently throwing at them. That's what optimism is. And I think it's difficult to be optimistic. But I know when I'm in a low mood, and it happens more often than what most people will think. I allow myself to feel whatever low mood I'm in, and I want to become aware of where it's coming from. And when I do, it's incredibly healing, and that immediately bounces me back to that optimistic attitude that I need. Sometimes I know I want to stay in a weird mood because I become creative in that mood. A lot of stuff comes out of me. I think what I'm saying is that I'm in tune with my feelings on most levels now at this point in my life. And I allow some of those not really intense negative emotions, but I would what some people might call a lull mood. And the key is that I know when to get out of it. I know when to use the facilities that I know, the strategies that I know to get myself out of it. And soon as I become aware that I'm really in a bad mood, is in that moment of awareness where, okay, this has got to stop. And then I move on and I start focusing on things that gives me joy, makes me feel better. I don't know if any of that made sense, but.
Sure, absolutely. It's interesting, as I'm hearing what people are sharing here, I don't think of it from the feeling side. To me, at least, it's an attitude. I think you're right that you can be as low as you want to be, but optimistic that I'll come out of it, or I'll be ready to take on the next challenge. I guess part of that, if you're in sales, for as long as I've been in sales, I've been told no so many times. Oh my God, so it's just one more step to serving somebody appropriately going forward. And so it's optimistic is for me, it's not an up or down kind of thing. It's a choice kind of thing. But that's my take. So how about flow?
No, actually,
Flo?
I have Rex in the middle there
Oh,
right
you
now.
have Rex in the middle. Okay. Sorry.
And then it'll be Flo and then Debbie.
So you make him the co-host and tell him he can do things, and then you don't let him do them.
Well, I know he's running
Rex,
a little
come on,
slower
man.
than me.
I mean, not to overstep or make any of the women mad. We are women. We like to tell people what to do, right? Come on now.
And to Joe Ingram's point, what I did, I decided to put a brick wall up because he seems to be fixated on brick walls, and I wanted to give him one more example. And then also say I wrote a book on it, and that's why the book is there. But see, it really is. It's a matter of awareness, and I think it depends on where you are in your journey. It's like as a child, you do things children do, and as adults, you do things as adults do. It's not a perfect analogy because sometimes adults can be pretty sick and children can be pretty smart. But the point being is that as you go on in your journey, different things become available to you that might not have been there at first. So attitude is everything, and how do you maintain an attitude? Well, it's about awareness, and it's about realizing that you have a choice. And if you can't be aware that you have a choice about what you choose to focus on or what you choose to feel, then it's likely you're going to do whatever you've learned to do in the first place. So the bottom line is that as you go through your journey, the goal is to make it an automatic and reliable habit. So you don't have to think about it. You just find yourself, you discover yourself maintaining, a more optimistic, positive, or happy state because you've trained yourself to do that. You respond that way over and over and over again so that you get it, reliably. And you don't have to self-flagellate. You don't have to crucify yourself. You don't have to do all the kinds of things that a lot of people, out there will tell you, or really, really work hard. Here's the thing about attitude and positive thinking and change. You don't have to work hard. Think of it this way. If you're drowning, struggling and flailing and doing a lot of extra hard work isn't going to save you. It's going to make you sink faster. You have to learn to relax, let go, and lie on your back and use, spreading out, yourself on the surface of the water in order to stay afloat for a longer period of time. If your car is stuck in the mud or snow, you can step on the pedal all you want and spin your tires a lot, and it's not going to get you anywhere. You can go to a door and keep trying and shaking it and shaking it, shaking it, shaking it, and not realize that there's another entrance that's open, or the other door next to it's the one that's unlocked, or there's a window or some way to get in. So doing the same thing over and over again isn't gonna help, and working really hard to do it isn't gonna help. So little things, adjusting your attitude, the affirmations, everything that everybody said on stage so far, on this platform so far, is valuable, because anything you can do to adjust your attitude, to make it different, to take your focus away from what's the problem, put it onto something that's more hopeful or more positive. And just always remember, it's a choice. It's just a choice, always. Dog shit or diamonds, but it's a choice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Love that.
Very nice. Lynn, go ahead and put up whomever you choose at this point.
Going with the flow, I see.
Yeah.
I'm going with the flow, is right.
Flo, how do
Hi,
you maintain
Flo.
an optimistic outlook?
I wrote a few things down, and first things that came to mind is being present with how you're thinking. And I always keep a list, or whether it's in a journal or a list, just to see how I'm doing. So I love crossing things off. So that just works for me. So if I'm present, I will always say, okay, where am I? Am I negative? Am I, what can I do? And I'll sometimes look at my list and get back to that. Or I always like having an accountability partner too, to go to keep me going wherever I'm going. Or I'll try and tell accountability partner or a coach what my goal is, and then say, okay, am I on track? Am I not on track? Do I have to adjust? And it's just being present with where I am. That just works for me.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
I love that.
Very
Love
much.
that.
Thanks.
Debbie, what do you got for the
What do
group?
I got? What do I got? Well, I got to listen to everybody. I'm so blessed to be in this group. Just let me say that. I'm always very optimistic to jump in on a Tuesday night and get some insight on the way these brilliant minds think. But a couple of things. Yes, Flo, I'm a check marker offer. Check in with yourself. Brilliant. I love Bob. Music. Yeah. I mean, that's like such an like for anyone listening that just needs a go-to, they're working on figuring optimism out, play some "'Cause I'm happy," da, 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 something. But, love everything that you guys have said for sure. But, I have a little story, because when one of you, I think Scott Two Hips said that optimism is a choice, and it is choices that we make in life. And when I was much younger and was raising my children, I chose to work in the community as a volunteer, but be a stay-home mother. And one of my very dear friends, one of my best friends, her husband, who's very successful, told me that I should also be working in the workforce, because at that time I was like early 30s. He's like, now's the time for you to make your connections, do all these things, get in the workforce, because by the time you've raised your kids, basically he was saying you're past your prime, whatever. So the point to the story is I listened and I understood where he was coming from, but I had a choice to make for me and my happiness. And my point in time in my life at that point was, I knew where I needed to be for me. That was a choice that I made. And once the kids started getting older, yeah, I also had to dig deep and figure out who am I without them and where am I going next. For me, I didn't want to just be home making dinner every night waiting for my husband to get home. I have a lot to offer. What else am I going to do? And I figured that out. But it was me digging deep, going inside. Like you guys have all said, it's an inside job. And so I'm doing me now. And, there's amazing opportunities that are coming, and I don't want to be, but it's a decision that I made that I'm going to be present to raise my family then. And now I'm being present for myself too. And I'm doing things. And if I can give any advice to help anybody out, male or female, age is a number. Do what you need to do that brings you joy in the moment. And then the next moment when things change, figure it out again. But that's what I'm doing. So that's my 2 cents. My 2 cents for 2 hits.
Can I add something to your 2 cents?
Yes, go ahead, Rick.
Just make sure it's legal.
That was easy.
Yeah. Make sure it's legal.
Yeah, just make sure it's legal so you don't get yourself or others in trouble.
Well, I want to go back to what, and Debbie, you actually led into it very well, because I wanted to come off of what Rex said. Because it is a choice. And so what set the foundation in your life to make that choice, to be optimistic? Because there's a lot of different things that we're all subjected to. What set the foundation to make the choice to be optimistic or to be going forward, as you were sharing?
Okay, so is that a question for me specifically?
It's actually for everybody.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Debbie.
It's a continuation on the
Okay,
topic.
got ya. You know what? In that moment, I had to make a decision. Like, what is it? Because it did make me think for a while after that was presented to me in that manner. But I knew where my heart was. I knew where I wanted to be in that moment for me specifically. And I knew that if I made that decision, it was a decision that I was making, and that now let's go with it and be the best damn mom and wife, community volunteer that I can be. I'm in it. I'm doing it. And once this passes, I'm on to the next thing, and I'm going to give it my heart and soul on the next journey. And it was just finding peace with my decision is what it was.
Yeah.
Finding peace in my decision.
And that is so important. And I would like to add on to that. The ultimate optimist is someone who makes a choice and they're dead certain and proud that they made it. And then time and history proves them wrong. And then they're set with a whole different set of choices to make choices from. And I'll give you an example. My brother, Michael, who I think is the ultimate optimist, as you guys know, he passed away just a few weeks ago. He was a gung-ho Marine. He joined the Marine Corps to fight in Vietnam because he honestly believed that his country needed him. That was a choice that he made, and he couldn't wait to serve for his country. And one day, it was years ago, we're sitting down together, and I was hesitant to ask him this question, but I had to do it. And I said, Mike, you're 100% disabled from the Vietnam War. You dedicated yourself. You believed that your country needed you. How are you angry at the country at all, or yourself, for making the wrong decision? You're 100% disabled as a result. What are your feelings about that? And I thought he was going to get pissed off at me, but I had to ask the question. He just sat back and he said, "That's a good question." And without thinking, he said, "I'm not a fortune teller. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see the future." At that moment in my life, I thought I was doing the right thing. Anybody that makes a decision can't tell the future. They have to go by the choice that they're making at that moment. He goes, now I realize I'm 100% disabled. Now I could choose to be bitter, blame the country, blame myself, and become a victim, or I can choose to say to myself, what can I do from this point on to live the best life that I can live? My life isn't what I thought it was going to be, but I still have a lot going for me. Who can I go to that can help me? What strategies need to be taken for me to get from here to here? And by choosing that, I become the victor. And he did more than survive, he thrived. And he took every step in that direction. I think that's a lesson that everyone needs to learn. And
Absolutely.
Being optimistic.
Absolutely. You know, if I could jump in for a second.
No, but anyway.
It reminds me of a story a great man named Barry told me about. There was a barn with some horse shit in it. And some, no, we're not going to go there again. We're not going to do that again. You know, quite honestly, going first and actually not being in my home studio, I'm a little bit off my game. I'm a little confused. What's that?
I said it looks like someone is holding you over a ledge.
Yeah, that's yeah.
No, it looks like you're going to sneeze.
I'm trying to hold this at the right.
Okay.
There you go. Get your thumb out of the way. There you go.
It's the witness protection thing. Here's the bottom line, guys. For me, is that, and I was trying to explain this in the beginning, and it didn't come out quite right, but you guys helped me clarify it. My experiences brought me to where I am today, and all those experiences had meaning and had purpose in my life. And optimism isn't just let me be happy for a moment kind of thing. It's about things making sense and having acceptance and knowing that what I did had purpose, what I did had value, and where I am today makes me a valuable human being. And each one of us has our experiences, good, bad, and indifferent, that all add up to creating a complete human being who's not only living their life, but being of service to others. And I think the optimism in my life has to be that everything I go through for a reason. If it's hard, it's because it's supposed to be hard. If it's easy, it's because it's supposed to be easy. And if it works, it's because it's supposed to work. And if it doesn't, it's because it's not supposed to work. But each of those experiences gives me something that I could carry through and become a better person, a more well-rounded person. And you know what? With that kind of attitude and that kind of acceptance, a lot of people acceptance is saying, well, that sucks. I guess I'll have to just accept it. That's tolerance. That's not acceptance. If you look up acceptance, it says to look upon with favor, which means it's exactly what's supposed to be. And that's where my optimism has to be. Everything in my life is exactly where it's supposed to be, except me, who is apparently falling off a ledge right now. But listen, I'm pleased that I could join you guys tonight. This is amazing. And I am grateful not only for my life, but for the lives that you have led, because it brought you all here to this Tuesday night to share your experiences with others so that others may learn as well. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rex is not going to push you off the ledge. The dog might, but he.
Sorry, I didn't get quite why you look like. So if you're holding your camera, it makes sense or something. But I was like, you look like. You know, I'm like, what's going on?
This is live TV.
He's doing a trust fall, Rex.
There you go. I would add, we could look up the definition of optimism and find a variety of them. And some people think it's, that things always work out or this, that, and the other thing. I would go with the simple one that most all of us know. An optimist looks at the glass half full. They look at what's there as opposed to what's missing or what's not there or what they could have otherwise, and they're grateful for what they have. So if it's a quarter full, they look at it as it's a quarter full. If there's only a drop in the cup, it's like, wow, I got a drop in my cup. In other words, it's about appreciation and gratitude for what is there, and that's a choice, because you could focus on what's missing or what isn't there or what somebody else is having or anything. So it's about directing your attention. I don't think it's about. I think it can be about hoping for a successful outcome, but I don't know that that's the most useful way to think about it. People say, well, things don't work out. They work out for me. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't, or people go through tough times, but it's finding in those tough times the good or the things that they can be grateful for, keeping their focus on, well, hey, I'm above ground. That's better than the alternative. And having an attitude that, it'll work out, even if it doesn't work out to the way I would like it. Something it's going to somehow work out. And I don't even know if working out is the right way of saying it, but if you're present and you're grateful and you're celebrating what you do have and what you can do in light of anything else, I think you're ahead of the game.
I also believe optimists know that on any given day they're going to be confronted. They could very well be confronted with challenges. They're aware of that. And they're also aware of the fact that it's not what happens. It's what you do about what happens. It's how you think about the challenges. And that's the stuff that determines the choices that they make. Optimists aren't exempt from the trials and tribulations of life. But they have another thing in common that a lot of people don't have. They find the laughter in between the tough times.
I love that. I'm going to add this and then I'll be quiet. In my book, I write about hurdle jumpers because there are people who actually run courses and jump over hurdles. They put obstacles in their way that they have to jump over. And they know they're going to be there, but that doesn't deter them from running and doing what they need to do. We were talking in the beginning, and I think maybe a useful way is to steer back. Is how do you remain optimistic? I think one of the ways you remain optimistic is, you can acknowledge that there's tough times. So if you say this is going to be tough, it likely is. If you go, I don't know how I'm going to get through it, you likely won't. If it's, we ought to pay attention and be aware of what we say and what we focus on, what we co-create or create or attract, or what we put into motion by how we, I don't even like the word challenge. I mean, if somebody's challenged to do rock climbing because it's a sport and they want to challenge their stuff, I think they want that. But most people don't want challenges. It's like, most people don't want problems. So I tend to think in terms of situations, which is just another, like a reframe, it's meaningless, or opportunities as opposed to challenges. But that doesn't mean that there won't be gray days or there won't be rainy days or cold days or, all of that stuff. So that to me, I kind of go, that goes without saying, or I mean, it's part of the equation. And since it's part of the equation, which part of the equation do I want to focus on?
Bless you, Flo.
Bless you, Flo.
Yeah, she was sneezing earlier.
Who wants to follow the genius of Mr. Rex?
How could you follow the genius of Rex?
Well said.
Well, shit, I was just going to say something, but screw that now.
I'll have a go.
Barry?
Something came up for me, which I thought was fun, was amusing. The idea, and I've used this in other places, is if you know how to walk, you're an optimist. Because when you were very young, walking wasn't easy. You'd fall down, you'd climb around, you'd put your knees, you get up again. If you're a pessimist, you wouldn't get up the second time.
Right.
So walking is a cue that you've been optimistic at some point in your life. Maybe not now, but you were. So first of all, if you think you've never been optimistic, you're lying to yourself. The second thing is, and it's something I've done my own journey with somatic stuff, is we don't recognize sometimes our body posture changes our state. So when you're looking at something that's challenging, as Rex was talking about, or not challenging, depending if we use that word, is that if you start to cave in, looking at this thing, and you're getting really like down on yourself, literally, you're going to not be able to be very optimistic. But if you look at the challenge, you start looking up and wondering about how can I do this? How can I do this? Because again, what Rex was saying was where you focus, where you go. Put your energy into what could happen. How could I do this? And you shift your body, like you start opening your chest and you put your hands out and you start looking up. Not to be woo-woo. What happens is, though, your adrenaline starts to move. Your body has a different experience, and that changes how you think and how you feel. I in my master's program that I went through, we talked about how the physical, mental, and emotional levels are all connected. So when you change one, the other two get affected. If you change one, the other two could be stronger and stop it working. So you have to work on all three levels to get success. So if you change your physical state, your mental and emotional levels tend to move with it. So definitely change how you look at things, literally. Looking down, looking up, you can change your state that way.
Well, I'm actually going to take the floor from there for a second, Scott, if you don't mind, Mr. Two Hips.
Please.
I'm glad you said that, Barry, because 2 weeks ago, I knew that this day would come, and that would be having my mom's dog meet her in heaven. And so I had to deal with that today, and I had to do a transition with it, but I had to stay positive and optimistic. And yet I was like, I'm not going to cry, or this isn't going to bother me, of course, but that's not humanistic. And, I recorded myself today, and that was at the spur of the moment. You guys saw it before we got online here. But what I want to say is that it didn't dawn on me. The relief I got today was that, wait a second, I'm going to miss her. And I took care of her for my mom for 7 years this month. But then I was rejoicing in that minute that I made that video saying, she's going to be with my mom. My mom gets to have her dog back that she hasn't had for 7 years. And she went peacefully. All I was just like, Mom, I hope you're there to get, see her, because she went so fast, and I just had to, like last night, I knew it was going to be a hard time. She was even older than I knew she was. And she'd been having hard nights and everything. And I was expecting that last night. She slept through, and we gave her a bath yesterday. So what I'm saying is, sometimes you have to, you go with every minute, but you have to accept and give yourself to accept those feelings, but also stay positive that this is a part of life. No one leaves here alive. And that, I was blessed to have her for 7 years than not have her at all. So, I mean, these are the different things that you have to do to keep switching to being optimistic. And yet I really didn't want to share the little video I did, because I don't want anybody to feel sad for me, or I don't want to tug at people's emotions. It's my emotion. It's my thing going on. But I share it with you guys because even though I'm in the moment, I just feel it's important my friends to know that if I'm a little out of the whack, you can understand why. But, I think we all experience the same things at different times, and yet everybody's experience is different. But if you stay optimistic and just share with compassion to know that, hey, today may not be a good moment, but the next can be. But you all just got everything in your life you gauge. It's a measurement, whether it's good or bad. And chaos in my life when I was young, I used to just be very aggravated and very short-tempered. Well, that didn't work good for me. So now staying positive and being happier and laughing any chance I get, that works for me. And reading Rex's book and being around Rex and you guys, and the moments I've had one-on-one with Bob, meeting him in person, like you guys have all etched really good things in me, and I'm just I'm reshifting and redoing who I am now again. And I'm just so blessed because in doing that, I'm going to carry a little bit of the best of all of you with me, because that's how much I love you guys. So thanks for letting me share.
Awesome. Great share, quite frankly. A little bit that's bubbled up in me as this conversation has gone on, because obviously there's a opposite side to optimism being pessimism. But what that didn't bubble up near as much as the equivalency of faith and fear. And that the optimistic, I think it was something that Rex said earlier, that when you're optimistic, you're looking toward, and that's really faith. And to parallel what Barry was saying about walking, you would never walk if you didn't have faith. You would never walk if you weren't an optimist. So I think there's some parallels there that are fairly interesting as well. And knowing most of you as well as I do, I don't know everybody as well as others, but I would think that the thing that parallels with those being optimistic is those having a strong faith or belief in a higher source, whatever that is, within themselves or external, whatever that might be. In fact, some guy might have even wrote a book about Bob. I don't know. But that's what just bubbled up in me. Does that make any sense to anybody else, or is that a parallel that anybody can grab onto?
Yeah, matter of fact, do you want to use that as our going out and ask everybody?
Sure.
So you pick Scott, and I'll put him in the square.
Yeah, right.
Seriously.
So
I'll be good.
No, okay, sure you will. Well, Barry's there, so go. Let's.
Oh, great.
Barry.
No,
that's how you don't make waves. Just make it really simple. I love it.
That's exactly it. I figured she couldn't not do it. You were already there.
Well, the thing is that concept about the glass being half empty, half full, I always thought the fact that an optimist really knows the glass is refillable. So that's me. Anyway, the thing is we have this being optimistic tends to be aligned with happiness. Like people who are happy tend to be optimistic, people who are optimistic tend to be happy. And that's the thing, they are woven together. And I've said many times, like, be happy for no reason. It's a real simple teaching because happiness is not situation dependent. So for me, really, optimism is the same thing. You know, what Steve was saying about you have to go, you know, somebody should be challenged by stuff. And so that's what Rex said too. We are in a place where we can maintain in a state of optimism, independent of what's happening around us, good, bad, or indifferent. It's a choice. You get to choose what you want to do.
Mm. Very nice.
Next.
Mr. Jones?
Yes. Again, just all great stuff. I definitely think there's a link between faith and hope and optimism. It's hard to take a step towards tomorrow if you don't believe there's going to be a tomorrow. Somewhere inside, you got to believe that there is something beyond your next move, and that's why you keep going. And I think that's really the basis and core of optimism. Certainly, optimism has proponents, and I mean, there's pieces that are in happiness, there's pieces that are in other things. But I think really what it is it's like I have purpose, I have a reason, I keep going, and you can't have that purpose or that feeling that to keep moving unless you have a faith that there's something else beyond it. Nobody jumps off the abyss without looking first, unless you already know something is there. So I truly believe you've got to have some sort of faith. And it doesn't have to be a spiritual or religious faith, but it has to be faith. It could be experiential faith that if I keep going, things are going to work out just fine. And that's how I choose to live. So appreciate you guys. Love you, Lynn.
Love you, Scott.
Very nice. Steve?
What?
Just want to make sure you're still awake.
Optimistic. A lot of people think, you know, optimistic people have this Pollyanna-ish point of view. They don't go through life with blinders on. They're well aware that there's going to be good times and bad times. They know there are going to be times they might even hit rock bottom, but happy, optimistic people simply ride the waves of change with equanimity, and they just take what life throws at them and they'll feel it, and they always know there's something better to focus on that'll pick them up and help them to move forward every step along the way. It's their choice. That's what they do.
Absolutely.
And I also think that people can learn to be optimistic. I did. So I don't think I did. There was a point in my life when I was anything but that. But I, you know, through what I've learned and studying other people, and just by screwing up as much as I did, I finally learned that, wow, I had alternatives on how to view the shit that happened to me, but I didn't take those alternatives. I just viewed it as life sucked.
Very nice.
Wow.
This is cute. Victoria, Debbie's daughter, says, I'm here because I repeatedly called my mother and went looking for where she was located. But great.
That's an optimist.
Oh, I love
That's not an
Victoria.
optimist. That's a frightening daughter. That's pretty scary.
Must be
What
suggesting
did
that
you do? Go to the Sherlock Holmes school?
Yeah, very nice. Must be an indication that it's Debbie's turn.
That's funny.
I concur.
She may want to consider changing her major.
Hey, Debbie, if that stalking gets too bad, you could join me here in witness protection.
Let's all
Yes,
look.
he did.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Oh my
When Steve talked about feeling your feelings, you know, staying optimistic, yeah, but having feelings come in that you're denying and you're not letting yourself feel them. And I know what he means. He doesn't mean wallow in them. He simply means recognize them, be self-aware enough to know that you're having hurt feelings or sad feelings or whatever the case, and then let it go. And then try to focus on, even if it's something, the smallest minute thing that you can be grateful for, so that you can change the directory of your day. When, like I said earlier, Bob was talking about music, to like put it on and go somewhere else in your soul and in your thought processes to hype you up. Little tiny things, looking at the sun and the sky. If it's cloudy, they're pretty puffy clouds, whatever, the tiniest little thing you can do for appreciation. But good or bad, things are going to change. And I think for all of us and all of our listeners, we all know that's true. So if you're struggling with something and you're really sad, it'll change. And if you take control of what you focus on, it can change even more for the better. And Barry, I love when you mentioned earlier in the program that there were times in your life where you were low, really low. And now, years later, you said life is better. It continues to get better. And the reason is because you have taken your life into your hands and chose to get better and to look at the positives and be self-aware and dig deep to say what's causing this, and I'm going to choose this. And so everything that everybody said always impacts me. And thank you so much. And thank you to my daughter for being proactive and finding me. Thank you. Thanks. That's all I got.
She found it.
She found it. She's finding it.
Awesome. Flo?
Oh, I'm up now. I like what has been said, and there's always been, a situation where before I would freak out, and then I would be like, why am I freaking out? I've always gotten through these problems or situations. So just take a breath and everything will be okay. You're a problem solver. I love solving problems. I love putting things back together, puzzles, any games or anything. So I had to learn to sit there and go, why am I stressing out? Just take a breath. I was in the car with a friend the other day, and she was freaking out because her gas gauge was, in the red. And I was like, we'll be okay. We started out, it was 58 miles was what it said. And then it moved to 100. And she was like, what the heck? What's going on? But she was stressing out. And I go, we've only gone 10 miles. So it's okay. We'll be okay. And then she goes, but I don't even have a card. I go, I have a AAA card. We'll be okay. So it'll be okay. But she was really stressing out. And I was like, wow, I guess that's how I used to be. But I was just, Barry, you kind of mentioned it too. You work it out and you realize it'll be okay. So that's kind of those what everybody has said. I kind of took a little bit and I was like, well, yeah, I kind of used to do that, but now I don't, because I know it'll be okay. It just works out somehow. It's almost like a challenge to say, okay, what do I have to do next to make it right? And here comes my cat.
I love it. My TV.
I'm so proud of it.
Flo, your friend's car meter, the gas tank reader, went from 58 to 100. It was really being, optimistic.
Right.
Indeed.
So we weren't sure if she was on a hill or something. So
maybe, yeah.
That the gauge was all wonky or whatever. But I was just like, it's okay. We've just gone 10 miles, but it was raining and she just was stressing out. And I just said, it's going to be okay.
I love it.
And as soon as you said that, a cat shows up.
Yep.
Amazing. It's all good. Mr. Donnell.
Yes, sir. I think when I think of optimism, I think the best way to have an optimistic outlook is to hold a great vision. Establish what your vision is for your life, for your family, for your children, for your business. Create that vision and then let it draw you towards it. And I think that's one of the best ways to keep an optimistic outlook is to have a better vision than even what is maybe in front of you at the moment.
Yeah, very nice.
Love that.
Excellent.
Mic drop.
Excellent.
And that leads right into the gentleman that teaches focus is everything.
Wow.
Correct?
Wow. Thank you. Well, first off, optimism isn't the absence of what we call difficulty or hardship. It's how you navigate the difficulty or hardship. So to assume that there's no hardship or difficulty, you could be considered fanciful thinking, although how you think about it determines whether it's a hardship or not. So let me take you on a long and winding, convoluted journey. I don't have the time to do it justice, but consider this for a second. You're an early human on the planet. You've got enough presence of mind to forage for food, but you don't know that it's Monday or a Saturday. You don't know that you live in a country or borders. You don't know that you're on a planet circling the sun. You don't know all sorts of things. You're just existing and you're living and you're going after those things. And maybe you're smiling with your partners and maybe you're fighting with partners or whatever, but you're alive and you're experiencing life as it comes, and it rains and maybe you have to build a hut So the point is as humans, even all these years later, we don't know 1% of everything there is to know. We can't know anything about everything, and none of us know much about anything at all. What science does is it tries to describe experience. So it classifies so that it can organize information. So it says, here's, butterflies, and here's all the different species of butterflies, and here's all the colors of the butterflies, and here's the ones with big wings and small wings and long bodies and short bodies and big heads and, multiple antennae, and it classifies it, and it's there so that we can organize our knowledge and our experience, and it can be a good thing. So if you say, well, I'm going to organize my house, that can be a good thing because now you can find things and it's easy. But it could also be a problem because if something's out of place, somebody can go, oh my God, the pots aren't in the right spot in the kitchen. And they can freak out over it because they are committed to the idea that for everything there is a perfect place or this, that, and the other thing. So what can be a liberation can also be a prison, and what can be a prison might also be a liberation. And we just never know. So here's the thing. In that we choose where we put our attention. We choose the things that we classify. Our bodies, we don't have a mind and emotions and a physical body. We don't have speech and behavior. We're a living organism on the planet, and we use that as a descriptor of what we're capable of doing. In the same way that we say there's an identity, there's a belief system, there's of what we're capable of, is different than what we behave at, because behavior could be smiling, but I'm capable of adding numbers together. So we divide, we categorize all these things. So going back to what Barry said, and this is truly important, is that the mind, if you think about it, we're a carbon-based bag of skin and bones that releases chemicals and hormones based on certain things in the world that happen with us. And some of those make us feel better, and some of them make us feel worse. So if you're thinking poorly and your body is compressing, as Barry mentioned, or your shoulders are coming down, or your breathing is changing and you're feeling worse, understand that yes, you can change your body and you can experience a shift in your thinking. You can shift the experience in your emotions. You can use affirmations and positive thinking techniques and all this stuff to change what you're doing and not because any of it's true, but because your organism is so flexible and is such a miracle and so much resource and opportunity in it that it all affects itself. We categorize it. We say, well, that's my mind affecting my emotions, or that's my behavior affecting my mind, or that's my this affecting that. But really, it's simple, and we don't understand much of it at all. So here's the thing. You can use your mind, your emotions, your body, your behaviors, your speech. You can use anything that you have to feel better or to feel worse. Wisdom comes from choosing wisely. It comes from deciding what it is that you want to put your focus on. So, and to not create problems for yourself, and to find those moments of where you're truly grateful for who you are, the fact that you can do so many different things, and you can do more today than you could when you were a child. You can go further, travel farther, learn more things, and yet as a child you had more playfulness and more joy until somebody trained you out of it. So capture all of that and live fully.
Well said. Well
Wow.
said.
Excellent.
I think you're absolutely correct. It becomes that focus. The optimist looks at the glass as half full. The pessimist looks at the glass as half empty. The engineer looks at the glass as it being twice as big as it needs to be. So,
And Barry looks at it as it's refillable.
it's refillable.
I'm thinking about the poet Milton. One of the greatest sayings I ever heard is that when he says, the mind is its own place, it could make a hell of heaven or a heaven of hell.
Exactly.
And I think that's just amazing, because there are people that look at situations and they go, oh, wow, this is great. And somebody else is looking at the same situation going, holy shit, this sucks.
It was interesting today. I was at the grocery store and walking out. And as I got out to the car with my stuff and started putting in, the lady just happened to be in the car right next to me. And she goes, hey, I got to tell you, you were about to be a close friend of mine. And I said, well, that's pretty bizarre. How is that going to happen? She said, well, I saw you smiling, and this creepy guy was walking and stalking me through the store. And I figured we'd both push out to the same aisle. And all of a sudden we got into a great conversation about this creepy guy following her. And she just thought I was nice because I was smiling.
Wow.
It's interesting how you can take any of these situations.
What if you would have turned around and said, well, I'm with him?
That's right. I'm actually, I'm the front. Did you check your pocket yet? Anyway,
I should have said to her, thinking, you think he's creepy.
well, no, but I mean, it's just intriguing how, like you say, how you carry yourself, right?
Yeah.
How you walk through, you just have fun, being goofy, having a good time, smiling. It doesn't take that much, but all of those are choices. And I think some of that, you wonder, where were those choices developed, or are they continually developing? But what sets you on that path? I think there's not a doubt in my mind that this group coming together every Tuesday night imparts some phenomenal wisdom from different places, and yet it's all tremendously valuable, and the right piece is going to touch the right person. And so honored to be part of all this. Lynn, thank you for the opportunity. Jonesy, don't jump off the ledge. We need you next week. No, just don't. Lynn, you want to wrap it up?
Scott, you did a terrific job despite my directions,
Good job.
But,
those were directions?
No.
Oh.
But just knowing that today I was going to be with you guys, I'm just honored. I love every one of you. Such blessed. I mean, Bob Donnell, you guys need to go to his coaching call. It's just amazing. And Flow Jams and Steve's conversation with Bob and I'm going to call her Betty instead of Debbie Bettendorf, or Find It, producing her show tomorrow with Christopher Rausch and Scott Schilling. You're just an amazing inspiration, and I just love you so much. And Rex Sykes, he's just, go to his page, buy his book. He gives you a course, and life starts automatically in a better direction when he gives you a simple free course with that book. And Barry Selby, can't wait to be doing a show with you here before too long, probably next month. He doesn't know it yet, but and I have a few other shows coming on, so in this network, and so I'm pretty excited to have you guys be part of the mix, and it's just a blessing. But look at the positive things. If you don't do something to change what you're doing, don't expect anything to change. And the bottom line is even if I'm an introvert and I don't want to be here or whatever, I've made the commitment to get out of my shell because of so many people that impact me. People impact you, you need to pay it forward. And these are amazing folks here. And I'm just so blessed to be with them. And Scott, we've just made a great community here. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much. And I hope that you guys come back next week. Love you guys. Scott Jones, do you want to
Have
say
a great week,
anything else?
everybody.
Real quick.
Just a quick reminder, you know, you could have stood in line and got on the tram, but we wanted the roller coaster. Ride it, appreciate it, and love it. You all have a great night. Love you all.
Love
Awesome.
it. Bye,
Thanks, all.
guys.
Bye.
Keeping me safe.